Oh, that's the worst part.
Yep.
There's like 600 fucking, oops, excuse my language, cat litter boxes. Because my mom has 4 cats and I have one.
Yeah, so we have
So,
5 cats.
yeah. So that means there's like, what? There's one, two, three, four. I think there's like 5 or 6 litter boxes in this house.
Wait, one in mom's room, one in Chloe's room, 2 downstairs.
He's got to teach.
You ready? Charlotte, you ready? Here we go. So today we're talking about, we're going to finish up chapter 9, which is all on eating disorders. And so we stopped before we started discussing the treatment of eating disorders. It's challenging. And the reason why is because people don't want treatment. They have to be 17% are committed to treatment against their will, right? They'll have a bad episode or something, they'll pass out, they'll be rushed to the hospital, and then they're like, you need help. So they're held there against their will. So let's talk about how we treat anorexia nervosa. First, in the beginning, there might be some emergency procedures to restore their weight, right? They might need some intravenous supplements. Um, we'll prescribe antidepressants or even antipsychotics. There'll be family therapy, and this runs between 10 and 20 sessions. And then lastly, the cognitive behavioral therapy, because obviously, the behavior of not eating has to be addressed. And then their distorted way of thinking that that they're overweight and that they continue to lose weight has to be addressed as well. So they got to kind of shift the way they're looking at themselves. With bulimia nervosa, right? This is the binge purging, antidepressants, again, cognitive behavioral therapy, meal planning, nutritional education. Now you're not going to see with this one, you're not going to see like emergency treatments, supplemental treatments because they appear normal in weight most of the time. For treating binge eating disorder, antidepressants, appetite suppressants, interpersonal psychotherapy, and cognitive behavioral and interpersonal therapy. So that means that there's something wonky about the way they are interacting with others. It's a it's something is from their social um, social skills lends itself to the binge eating type of eating disorder. Now we're going to move on to obesity. It's a state of excessive chronic fat storage. It's a major worldwide health problem. About 1.9 billion adults are overweight out of what? Not even 7 billion. So that's 2 out of 7. So that's what? I don't even know. Let's see. 1/7 is like 14% or something like that. So 2 out of 7 would be like 28%. 600 million are obese, and 1/3 of adults are. So when we look, and this is the prevalence, so it's a yearly timestamp of self-reported obesity in 2013. And you can see that in the yellow, where New York is, it's 25 to 30% have identified themselves as obese. But you have West Virginia and Mississippi, and that are over 35%. But then look at all the 30 to 35%, all of this mid part here. And then you have Hawaii, which is the leanest, the meanest, and they're not the meanest. Um, I would have expected Florida to be higher, honestly, just because of the heat, and I would think that would lead to more sedentary lifestyles. So, what are some medical issues associated with obesity? High cholesterol, hypertension, which means high blood pressure, heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, and cancer. Especially belly fat is linked to cancer.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So, some demographic. Huh?
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Isn't it? Yeah. My brother
Yeah.
is a cardiologist, and so he tells me little different little things. So what are some demographic factors that influence obesity? As in, who's more likely to get it? Males are more likely to be obese, except for African American women. So they also are. The race or ethnicity, typically minorities more often, and then those with low socioeconomic status, the people who are poorer. So we define uh, um, obesity, overweight, underweight, normal weight by the body mass index. Underweight, below 18.5. Normal, 18.5 to 24.9. Overweight, 25 to 29.9. Obese, over 30. Morbidly obese, above 40 or being more than 100 pounds overweight. So looking back at the demographics based on race, um, and then you see that those that are overweight, 65, I'm sorry, 68.5%. Now this was in 2014. 60, basically 69% of the United States adults were at least overweight. The non-Hispanic white, so white Caucasian, 67.2. Non-Hispanic Asian, the least, um, the lowest rates of obesity, just below 39. Hispanic, just below 78, and then Black, just above 76%. But now when we get to the obese, right? So it's about 35% of all the U.S. adults, and white 32.6, Hispanic 42.5, Asian 10.8, and Black 47.8. So again, these in red are the highest, the Hispanic and the Black. Now, we also said that it was associated with low socioeconomic status. How can that be? Why does that happen? So
Maybe less resources to better quality food
That's
because it's just
exactly.
easier to get fast food.
That's right. It's cheaper, right? There's also a stigma for those who are overweight. There are negative based stereotypes. Even it was found even that jury or jurors serving on a jury, they are kind of biased against women who are obese, who are defending themselves, or even those who are charging others, who are the what do you call that? There's the defendant, and then there's the not offendant. I don't remember, but you get the idea, right? The person who's charging the other one. Okay. Even healthcare professionals may blame the patients who are obese. So, some risk factors, meaning what are some things that lead to a predisposition or some environmental factors? Your genes, hormones, which we're going to talk about each one of these, sociocultural factors. So, what's going on around us in our culture in our society? Specific family influences. I oh okay. And then lastly, just stressors. So starting with genes, right? So it was evolutionary for us, um, in order for our species, our ancestors to survive, to store as much weight as possible when we didn't know when our next meal was coming. So until we broke off to nomadic groups, those who would travel from place to place, and they became hunters because they wouldn't be able to cultivate their own food, grow it. So these people would, when they'd have a meal, they would store as much of it to as fat as possible. It would be converted to fat as possible, and that would aid in their survival. Now the other group who were more sedentary, who would hunt but also grew their own food, so they knew when their next meal was, it wasn't necessary for them to store food. So what does this mean? It means that if you have a genetic inheritance for weight, then you come from a line of hunters. If you have a genetic inheritance for thinness, then you come from a line of cultivators, of farmers, essentially. Um, there has been links associated with binge eating disorder, genetic links. So I would ask you, so the two different kinds of hormones that are secreted, uh, there are more than this. There are more than this, but the ones that have been highly focused on, um, one is for food or appetite suppression, and the other one is for appetite gain. So leptin is released from fat cells, and it actually suppresses our appetite. So leptin is what makes us not feel hungry. Ghrelin is released from the gut, so it's the nerves near the stomach. And think of like ghrelin, it sounds like your stomach's growling, when you're hungry. So ghrelin is for the activation of appetite. So individuals with an abnormality in the amount of ghrelin release, meaning too much, develop what's called Prader-Willi syndrome, and they're always hungry. So some sociocultural influences, time pressure, right? So because we're always on the go, we're always trying to get this done before that, and then after that, and that we have so many things to do in such little time, we don't have time to make food. And so as a result, we're getting fast food. We're getting food that's prepared for us. Restaurant portions are larger in the US than they are in the rest of the world. We have ultra processed foods that are high in fat. Food accessibility. So even if we're not pressured for time, even if we don't have to go to a restaurant, even if we're not forced to do whatever, just by having that little Aunt, who's the pretzel maker? Aunt,
Annie? No, no. Is that the same? The ones that are in the mall?
yeah, that one. What, Amy's? Amy?
I think we had this conversation a while ago. It was like
Hey,
Auntie.
Annie.
Aunt
Was it
Annie.
Aunt Annie. Okay.
Okay. So yeah. So you walk to the mall, you smell that fresh pretzel, you're gonna be like, I just had lunch, but ding dong dang, that smells good. I want to taste it, right? Just by having it accessible. Advertising, right? The food companies and the television advertisers, they know how to sell the food, man. With the way it looks, the way it sounds. They're showing you a skillet with the Applebee's new whatever wrap, and they show you the beef little strips sizzling and the peppers and the onions sizzling, right? So it's not just the way it looks, but also the way it sounds. They're getting in touch with our senses. And interestingly, immigrants to the United States, right? So when immigrants come to the United States, their weight is normal. But after 10 years, they become overweight. So all is well when they get here for about 10 years. And then, boom, they assimilate into our culture, into our habits, into our foods, and they become overweight like us. Family influences, right? So if your mom or dad's always serving high fat, high calorie foods, well, that's not going to help you, right? So when you're having a bad day and your mom says, "Come on, let me get you a bowl of ice cream," that whole, "I'm sorry that we got into a fight. Here's a cupcake," or "Why don't you have one of Daddy's tasty cakes?" Or you know what I'm saying? I'm always giving my kids my tasty cakes. Oh, Christina just bought a whole bunch yesterday. I got a box of, we talked about the zebra cake rolls. Okay.
Yep.
And then, did I also show you the strawberry cake rolls?
No, but we talked. I don't remember. No, we didn't. You didn't show us them.
It's kind of like the zebra cake roll, but it doesn't have the icing around it. It has icing just on the bottom. And instead of it being white cream filling, it's a strawberry filling. And it's not cream, it's strawberry. It's freaking delicious. So she got a box of those. She got a box of the zebra cake rolls. And she got a box of brownies, but they're not the cosmic ones. They're the ones with the nuts, because I said I don't like the candy on them. And so we're going to give the ones with the nuts a try. My preference would be to have nothing on the brownies. But I think because now that I'm 42 years old and I'm just getting old, and old people, they like nuts and everything. I think I'm starting to like nuts and everything. Who knows? Anyway, so I'm pretty excited about that. Oh, you know what else she got? Oh, I forgot. Last thing, I promise. So she also got for me, in my tasty cake habits, um, you know, those prepackaged pies. You can get like blueberry or cherry or whatever. and a Hostess makes them, but Entenmann's also makes them. So she got a box of cherry pies and blueberry pies. Little,
Do you like any of the seasonal like Hostess or like seasonal type of
what do you mean? Come at me.
the seasonal? I don't know. Sometimes they have like Halloween seasonal snacks that only
Okay.
come out during
And it's like
Halloween.
a pumpkin cookie right now, and it's so good.
What
Wait,
was
which
it?
one was it?
It's like a pumpkin cookie,
Oh, those are
and
good.
oh,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, but is it made by Little Debbie?
yes, I believe so.
Okay, because I know. So Tears had answered your question, and to address this, Christine, when she came back yesterday, she's like, "Oh, I'm like, oh, great, you got the ones with the nuts. You remember?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah." She goes, "But they also have the seasonal ones, which are the brownies shaped like pumpkins that have orange icing on them." And
Ooh,
so she's like, I was gonna get those, but you said that you wanted the nuts, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure I'd like the icing. And she goes, but we'll get them next time. I'm like, okay, way to enable me. But I absolutely do look forward to the seasonal ones. Like for example, the Christmas tree zebra cakes.
Oh yes,
those are
I'm
the
waiting for
best.
this one.
You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, but it's got like sprinkles, and I love the shape of it.
Yeah,
I like the tree part.
it's
I like the
different.
tip of it. I like just the first bite. I'm like,
Yes.
perfect shape. I love the texture. I love the shape. It's incredible.
I feel that. That's my favorite zebra cake is the Christmas
The
tree one.
Christmas tree, yeah. Yeah, I think once you try the zebra cake rolls, though, I don't know. I'm telling you,
Where
they're
did she find them? Because I couldn't find them anywhere. Well, at Walmart and Target. Target.
Price Chopper is where she
Oh,
goes.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Um, but I also like the Easter zebra cake ones, you know. And basically the Easter ones are the regular zebra cake ones that are hexagonal in shape, but they have like different colors. They have like pastel colors on it or something. But I still like, how it is. Like Reese's, and you get the pumpkins, and then during the Easter you get the eggs, the Reese's eggs, and the
Oh,
Reese's.
those are different too.
Yeah, they are, but I still like them. Oh, and the Christmas tree ones for Reese's. All right, let's move on. We can't do this. But yes, I do like the seasonal ones. Yep. All right.
Well,
Overfeeding infants and young children. Now, this isn't out of love or to alleviate the stress. Okay. This is just simply overfeeding your babies, giving them too much food. It actually changes. Remember, we talked about the set point theory, where the body remembers the amount of fat that it has and it wants to maintain it. That's why it's so difficult to diet. Well, that's what it's doing. It's actually shaping, it's modifying in the hypothalamus their set point. And then lastly, socially contagious obesity. What does that mean? It means that, so when you have like close friends or lovers or whatever, and one of them is overweight, the other one tends to gain weight too. Stress and comfort food, of course. Some of us will eat when we're under stress, and we'll choose particular kinds of foods that are called comfort foods, and these are always going to be higher in fat and carbs, but the experience is pleasurable and it reduces our tension because you got something that's high in fat. You're gonna have a bunch of dopamine released, and you're gonna be like, num 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 num. Okay, so different stimuli and conditions and cues, like watching TV, watching movies, going to parties. Sometimes when we're anxious, when we're angry, or when we're bored. I'll eat when I'm bored. You know. Yeah. So how do we treat people diagnosed with obesity, or just obesity? Technically, it's not even considered a disorder underneath the DSM, but we're not going to get into that. There have to be some lifestyle modifications. They have to take on a lower calorie diet. They have to exercise. They have to eat less and of the bad and eat more of the good. There are certain medications like Meridia and Xenocol. There are surgical operations like bariatric surgery, where this will kind of, you get your stomach, they nicknamed it stomach stapled, but now you can get it tied or whatever. And basically, what they're doing is they're reducing the size of your stomach, so you experience the feeling of fullness sooner. Also, it says shortening the intestine or intestine. By doing that, it runs through the system quicker. And if it runs through the system quicker, you absorb less. So, the importance of prevention in the three simple steps: eat three fewer bites of food at meals. I don't know who's got time. Well, you know what? People with eating, you know, problems or, weight problems, they're probably counting their bites or something. I don't know. But walk or take stairs more often. So basically, what it means is, when you're given the option to walk or take the escalator or take the elevator, do more of the walking. And then lastly, sleep more. Sounds counterproductive, doesn't it? Sounds counterintuitive, rather. Sleeping more. Yeah. Because if you think about it, if you're sleeping, one, you're not eating. Unless you're, sleep eating, which does happen to people. But so that's one thing. So you're just simply not affording time to eat. Also, remember, we go through two phases: the fight or flight and the rest and digest. If we're digesting, that means we're burning, that means we're running it through. So, sleeping more kind of helps our chemicals catch up and do what they're supposed to do, but also gives us time to digest the food that we have. Yay! We're done. I'm going to stop recording. I stopped. Wait.